Good evening, everyone. Continuing with the what I do with photographs, so you can see what actually happens to a photograph after a shoot. We're going back to that face that we did last week. Here it is. Now, if you remember, what I didn't like about the image was this area right in here because it looks like it blends into her neck. And there's the change. And you can see that you can now see her chin. And there's some other changes in here as well. You zoom in here, and if you pay attention to around the eyes, you'll notice how flat the eyes look right now. And now they have depth. They now have dimension to them. We look down here at the Cupid's bow, that little indentation beneath the nose. It now has depth, as does her smile, and around the nose has depth to it as well. So it looks like a nose and doesn't look like it falls into the face. All right, before and after, you can see, pull her up here so you can see the chin again, and you can see all the changes. Now, how are these changes accomplished? I don't do anything with the image that modifies the image, but anybody who does makeup knows there are things you can do with shading. And that's all this is. So we're just going to grab a new layer. If I can get the cat off my arm enough that I can actually move. So we're going to go with a new layer. And now we're going to do what's called dodge and burn. So for example, let's start with the Cupid's bow down here. If I go in here and make a drawing there, there's depth. I didn't change the shape of anything. I just added depth. Same thing goes with around the nose. The smile in here. Now you can just make out the curve of the nose here, so we're just going to do that. And a little bit of a smile in there. And look, there's depth to the face again. Now, a woman's lips are not two-dimensional. So if we do the exact same bit of shading here, we could even shade in here by the mouth just a bit. Trying not to get the teeth. See, the lips look a little puffier now. We can enhance that further by just lightening a little bit. And see how much more depth her lips have. Now, the eyes are very similar And you may have heard about photographers lightening the eyes. But what I'm actually doing here is darkening around the outside of the eye. I'm going to darken in here a little bit. So I want to add that curve back into her nose. And there you can see it. And it's a subtle change. And when I say subtle, I mean subtle. While you can see it here with it all blown up, let's go back out. Take her out a little bit more. And we turn that off. And we turn it on. And you'll notice the changes there, but it's much more subtle with the size change. Even if we go to here, where we're not zoomed in on her face, you can still see that subtle change. And to me, that's what it's all about. We also haven't done the chin yet. You'll notice it still falls into the face. So let's handle the chin next. And you can see where the chin is. Now, I don't want to make a big change. I'm just making a very subtle change in shade. Around here. And that's all I did. And you can see it's right there. And if you look up here, I'm at 14%. I'm barely making any change at all when I draw. And yet, the image looks so much better because she has that depth back. So when we look at things with our eyes, we see things from two different perspectives. Our brain then takes that information and makes a three-dimensional image out of it. With a camera, though, you just have the one lens. You'll notice when the 3D cameras that all of them have a double lens to them. So what we need to do here is bring back that depth. And as anybody who does makeup will tell you, shading is a fantastic way of making a change without actually changing the shape of anything. It gives an illusion of the change. And here you can see just that set of subtle changes. And we have a chin back. We can see where the neck is. And the eyes have more depth to them. So that's what I do in making an image look more realistic. So the goal is to take a picture and make the picture look like the person. And in order for that to happen, I have to take this flat image and make it appear as if it's got a third dimension to it. And if you've never seen it, there's a type of paper called metal paper, not to be confused with a metal print. This is a paper that seems to bring out that nice depth quite well. Gives that third dimension back into the image to begin with, and adding this type of shading and this techniques to it will improve that image and make it even more three-dimensional. So that's what I do here. Next week, what we're going to talk about is little areas where things are transitory versus moles and things that are part of a person. So that's what we're going to handle next week, so you can see what I do with those images. The best way to know a photographer is to look at their gallery, but to understand what the picture looked like before and how they got to that finished product. To understand the photographer's goal, method, and what they consider to be an appropriate change to make as they're going through and doing an image, what they will and won't change. So I hope this gives you a little background into the way I do things and the way I approach the artistry of photography. And I'll talk to you guys next week.